Section 8. From Early Poems, Ballads and Songs, Part 2, by Thomas Moore. Read for LibriVox.org by Noel Badrian. To Chloe. Imitated from Martial. I could resign that eye of blue, however its splendour used to thrill me, and even that cheek of roseate hue, to lose it, Chloe, scarce would kill me. That snowy neck I ne'er should miss, however much I've raved about it, and sweetly as that lip can kiss, I think I could exist without it. In short, so well I've learned to fast, that, sooth, my love, I know not whether I might not bring myself at last to do without you altogether. End of poem. When Love is Kind. When love is kind, cheerful and free, love's sure to find welcome from me. But when love brings heartache or pang, tears and such things, love may go hang. If love can sigh for one alone, well pleased am I to be that one. But should I see love given to rove to 2 or 3, then goodbye, love. Love must, in short, keep fond and true, through good report and evil too. Else, here I swear, young love may go, for aught I care, to Jericho. End of poem. To Lady Heathcote. On an old ring found at Tunbridge Wells. Tunbridge est à la même distance de Londres que Fontainebleau est de Paris. Ce qu'il y a de beau et de galant dans l'une et de l'autre sexe s'y rassemble au Thames des eaux. La compagnie, etc., etc. See Memoirs de Grandmont, second part, chapter 3. Tunbridge Wells. When Grammont graced these happy springs, and Tunbridge saw, upon her pantiles, the merriest wight of all the kings That ever ruled these gay gallant isles. Like us, by day they rode, they walked, at eve they did as we may do, And Grammont just like Spenser talked, and lovely Stuart smiled like you. The only different trait is this, that woman then, if man beset her, was rather given to saying yes, because, as yet, she knew no better. Each night they held a coterie, where every fear to slumber charmed. Lovers were all they ought to be, and husbands not the least alarmed. Then called they up their school-day pranks, nor thought it much their sense beneath to play at riddles, quips, and cranks, and lords showed wit, and ladies teeth. As, why are husbands like the mint? Because, forsooth, a husband's duty is but to set the name and print that give a currency to beauty. Why is a rose in nettles hid, like a young widow, fresh and fair? Because 'tis sighing to be rid of weeds that have no business there. And thus they missed, and thus they hit, and now they struck, and now they parried, and some laid in of full-grown wit, while others of a pun miscarried. 'Twas one of those facetious nights that Grammont gave this forfeit ring, for breaking grave conundrum rights, or punning ill, or some such thing. From whence it can be fairly traced, through many a branch and many a bough, from twig to twig, until it graced the snowy hand that wears it now. All this I'll prove, and then to you, O Tunbridge, and your springs ironical, I swear by Heathcote's eye of blue to dedicate the important chronicle. Long may your ancient inmates give their mantles to your modern lodgers, and Charles's loves in Heathcote live, and Charles's bards revive in Rogers. Let no pedantic fools be there, for ever be those fops abolished, with heads as wooden as thy ware, and Heaven knows, not half so polished. But still receive the young, the gay, the few who know the rare delight of reading Grammont every day, and acting Grammont every night. End of poem. To Nea. If I were yonder wave, my dear, and thou the isle it clasps around, I would not let a foot come near my land of bliss, my fairy ground. If I were yonder conch of gold, and thou the pearl within it placed, I would not let an eye behold the sacred gem my arms embraced. If I were yonder orange tree, and thou the blossom blooming there, I would not yield a breath of thee to scent the most imploring air. Oh, bend not o'er the water's brink, give not the wave that odorous sigh, nor let its burning mirror drink the soft reflection of thine eye. That glossy hair, that glowing cheek, so pictured in the waters seem, that I could gladly plunge to seek thy image in the glassy stream. Blessed fate! At once my chilly grave and nuptial bed that stream might be. I'll wed thee in its mimic wave, and die upon the shade of thee. Behold the leafy mangrove, bending o'er the waters blue and bright, like Nea's silky lashes, lending shadow to her eyes of light. O my beloved, where'er I turn, some trace of thee enchants mine eyes. In every star thy glances burn, thy blush on every floweret lies. Nor find I in creation aught of bright or beautiful or rare, sweet to the sense or pure to thought, but thou art found reflected there. End of poem. There's not a look, a word of thine. There's not a look, a word of thine, my soul hath e'er forgot. Thou ne'er hast bid a ringlet shine, nor given thy locks one graceful twine, which I remember not. There never yet a murmur fell from that beguiling tongue, which did not with a lingering spell upon my charmed senses dwell, like songs from Eden sung. Ah, that I could at once forget all that haunts me so! And yet, thou witching girl, and yet, to die were sweeter than to let the loved remembrance go. No, if this slighted heart must see its faithful pulse decay, oh, let it die, remembering thee, and, like the burnt aroma, be consumed in sweets away. End of poem. Song from the Summer Fete. Array thee, love, array thee, love, in all thy best array thee. The sun's below, the moon's above, the night and bliss obey thee. Put on thee all that's bright and rare, the zone, the wreath, the gem, not so much gracing charms so fair as borrowing grace from them. Array thee, love, array thee, love, in all that's bright array thee. The sun's below, the moon's above, and night and bliss obey thee. Put on thy plumes thy lover gave, proclaim to all, where'er they wave, victorious eyes advancing. Bring forth the robe whose hue of heaven from thee derives such light, that Iris would give all her 7 to boast but one so bright. Now hie thee, love, now hie thee, love, through pleasure's circles hie thee, and hearts where'er thy footsteps move will beat when they come nigh thee. Thy every word shall be a spell, thy every look a ray, and tracks of wondering eyes shall tell the glory of thy way. Now hie thee, love, now hie thee, love, through pleasure's circles hie thee, and hearts where'er thy footsteps move shall beat when they come nigh thee. End of poem. Song, trio from the Summer Fete. Our home is on the sea, boy, our home is on the sea. When Nature gave the ocean wave, she marked it for the free. Whatever storms befall, boy, whatever storms befall, the island bark is Freedom's ark, and floats her safe through all. Behold yon sea of isles, boy, behold yon sea of isles, where every shore is sparkling o'er with beauty's richest smiles. For us hath Freedom claimed, boy, for us hath Freedom claimed those ocean nests where Valour rests his eagle wing untamed. And shall the Moslem dare, boy, and shall the Moslem dare, while Grecian hand can wield a brand, to plant his crescent there? No, by our fathers, no, boy, no, by the cross we show, from Maina's rills to Thracia's hills, all Greece re-echoes no. End of poem. Song, from the Summer Fete. Oh, where art thou dreaming, on land or on sea? In my lattice is gleaming the watchlight for thee. And this fond heart is glowing to welcome thee home, and the night is fast going, but thou art not come. No, thou comest not. 'Tis the time when night flowers should wake from their rest, 'Tis the hour of all hours when the lute singeth best. But the flowers are half sleeping, till thy glance they see, And the hushed lute is keeping its music for thee. Yet thou comest not. End of poem. Song, from Evenings in Greece. When the balalaika is heard o'er the sea, I'll dance the romaika by moonlight with thee. If waves then, advancing, should steal on our play, Thy white feet in dancing shall chase them away. When the balalaika is heard o'er the sea, Thou'lt dance the romaika, my own love, with me. Then at the closing of each merry lay, How sweet 'tis reposing beneath the night ray! Or if, declining, the moon leave the skies, We'll talk by the shining of each other's eyes. Oh then how fealty the dance we'll renew, Treading so fleetly its light mazes through, Till stars looking o'er us from heaven's high bowers Would change their bright chorus for one dance of ours. When the balalaika is heard o'er the sea, Thou'lt dance the romaika, my own love, with me. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain. Section 9, from Early Poems, Ballads and Songs, Part 3, by Thomas Moore. Read for LibriVox.org by Noel Badrian. Song from Evenings in Greece. Who comes so gracefully gliding along, While the blue rivulet sleeps to her song? Song richly vying with the faint sighing Which swans in dying sweetly prolong. So sung the shepherd boy by the stream side, watching that ferry boat down the flood glide, like a bird winging, through the waves bringing that siren singing to the hushed tide. "Stay," said the shepherd boy, "ferry boat, stay, linger, sweet minstrelsy, linger a day." But vain in his pleading, past him unheeding, song and boat speeding glided away. So to our youthful eyes joy and hope shone, so while we gazed on them fast they flew on, like flowers declining even in the twining, one moment shining and the next gone. End of poem. Song from Evenings in Greece. March, nor heed those arms that hold thee, though so fondly close they come. Closer still will they enfold thee, when thou bringest fresh laurels home. Dost thou dote on woman's brow? Dost thou live but in her breath? March, 1 hour of victory now wins thee woman's smile till death. Oh, what bliss when war is over, beauty's long-missed smile to meet, and, when wreaths our temples cover, lay them shining at her feet. Who would not that hour to reach, breathe out life's expiring sigh, proud as waves that on the beach lay their war-crests down and die? There, I see thy soul is burning, she herself who clasps thee so, paints ev'n now thy glad returning, and while clasping bids thee go. One deep sigh, to passion given, one last glowing tear, and then march, nor rest thy sword till heaven brings thee to those arms again. End of poem. When on the lip the sigh delays. When on the lip the sigh delays, as if 'twould linger there for ever, when eyes would give the world to gaze, yet still look down and venture never, when, though with fairest nymphs we rove, there's one we dream of more than any, if all this is not real love, 'tis something wondrous like it, Fanny. To think and ponder when apart on all we've got to say at meeting, and yet when near, with heart to heart, sit mute and listen to their beating, to see but one bright object move, the only moon, where stars are many. If all this is not downright love, I prithee say what is, my Fanny? When hope foretells the brightest, best, though reason on the darkest reckons, when passion drives us to the west, though prudence to the eastward beckons, when all turns round, below, above, and our own heads the most of any, if this is not stark staring love, then you and I are sages, Fanny. End of poem. Black and blue eyes. The brilliant black eye may in triumph let fly all its darts without caring who feels them, but the soft eye of blue, though it scatter wounds too, is much better pleased when it heals them, dear Fanny. But the soft eye of blue, though it scatter wounds too, is much better pleased when it heals them. The black eye may say, come and worship my ray, by adoring, perhaps you may move me. But the blue eye, half hid, says from under its lid, I love, and am yours, if you love me. Yes, Fanny, the blue eye, half hid, says from under its lid, I love, and am yours, if you love me. Come tell me, then, why, in that lovely blue eye, not a charm of its tint I discover. Oh, why should you wear the only blue pair that ever said no to a lover, dear Fanny? Oh, why should you wear the only blue pair that ever said no to a lover? End of poem. Peace, peace to him that's gone. When I am dead, then lay my head in some lone distant dell, where voices ne'er shall stir the air or break its silent spell. If any sound be heard around, let the sweet bird alone that weeps in song sing all night long, peace, peace to him that's gone. Yet, oh, were mine one sigh of thine, one pitying word from thee, like gleams of heaven to sinners given would be that word to me. How ere unblest my shade would rest while listening to that tone, enough 'twould be to hear from thee, peace, peace to him that's gone. End of poem. Beauty and Song. Down in yon summer vale, where the rill flows, thus said a nightingale to his loved rose: Though rich the pleasures of song's sweet measures, vain were its melody, rose, without thee. Then from the green recess of her night bower, beaming with bashfulness, spoke the bright flower: Though morn should lend her its sunniest splendour, what would the rose be, unsung by thee? Thus still let song attend woman's bright way, thus still let woman lend light to the lay. Like stars through heaven's sea, floating in harmony, beauty shall glide along, circled by song. End of poem. If thou wouldst have me sing and play. If thou wouldst have me sing and play, as once I played and sung, first take this time-worn lute away, and bring one freshly strung. Call back the time when pleasure's sigh first breathed among the strings, and Time himself in flitting by made music with his wings. But how is this? Though new the lute, and shining fresh the chords, beneath this hand they slumber mute, or speak but dreamy words. In vain I seek the soul that dwelt within that once sweet shell, which told so warmly what it felt, and felt what naught could tell. Oh, ask not then for passion's lay from lyre so coldly strung. With this I ne'er can sing or play, as once I played and sung. No, bring that long-loved lute again, though chilled by years it be. If thou wilt call the slumbering strain, 'twill wake again for thee. Though time have frozen the tuneful stream of thought that gushed along, one look from thee like summer's beam will thaw them into song. Then give, oh give that wakening ray, and once more blithe and young, thy bard again will sing and play, as once he played and sung. End of poem. Unbind thee, love. Unbind thee, love, unbind thee, love, from those dark ties unbind thee. Though fairest hand the chain hath wove, too long its links have twined thee. Away from earth, thy wings were made in yon mid-sky to hover, with earth beneath their dove-like shade, and heaven all radiant over. Awake thee, boy, too long thy soul is sleeping, and thou mayest from this minute's joy wake to eternal weeping. Oh, think, this world is not for thee, though sweet and bright and dear they be, break, or thou art lost for ever. End of poem. Song from the Epicurean. Drink of this cup. Osiris sips the same in his halls below, and the same he gives to cool the lips of the dead who downward go. Drink of this cup. The water within is fresh from Lethe's stream. 'Twill make the past, with all its sin and all its pain and sorrow, seem like a long forgotten dream. The pleasure whose charms are steeped in woe, the knowledge that harms the soul to know, the hope that, bright as the lake of the waste, allures the sight but mocks the taste. The love that binds its innocent wreath where the serpent winds in venom beneath. All that of evil or false by thee hath ever been known or seen shall melt away in this cup and be forgot as it never had been. Drink of this cup. When Isis led her boy of old to the beaming sky, she mingled a draught divine and said, "Drink of this cup, thou'lt never die." Thus do I say and sing to thee, heir of that boundless heaven on high, though frail and fallen and lost thou be, drink of this cup, thou'lt never die. And memory too with her dreams shall come, dreams of a former happier day, when heaven was still the spirit's home, and her wings had not yet fallen away. Glimpses of glory, ne'er forgot, that tell like gleams on a sunset sea what once hath been, what now is not, but, oh, what again shall brightly be. End of poem. The Evening Gun. Rememberest thou that setting sun, the last I saw with thee, when loud we heard the evening gun peal o'er the twilight sea? Boom! The sounds appeared to sweep far o'er the verge of day, till into realms beyond the deep they seemed to die away. Oft, when the toils of day are done, in pensive dreams of thee, I sit to hear that evening gun peal o'er the stormy sea. Boom! And while o'er billows curl the distant sounds decay, I weep and wish from this rough world like them to die away. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain. Section 10. From Poems Relating to America, by Thomas Moore. Read for LibriVox.org by Noel Badrian. A Ballad, The Lake of the Dismal Swamp, written at Norfolk in Virginia. They tell of a young man who lost his mind upon the death of a girl he loved, and who, suddenly disappearing from his friends, was never afterwards heard of. As he had frequently said in his ravings that the girl was not dead, but gone to the dismal swamp, it was supposed he had wandered into that dreary wilderness, and had died of hunger or been lost in some of its dreadful morasses. Anonymous. La poésie a ses monstres, comme la nature, d'Alembert. They made her a grave, too cold and damp for a soul so warm and true, and she's gone to the lake of the dismal swamp, where, all night long, by a firefly lamp, she paddles her white canoe. And her firefly lamp I soon shall see, and her paddle I soon shall hear. Long and loving our life shall be, and I'll hide the maid in a cypress tree when the footstep of death is near. Away to the dismal swamp he speeds, his path was rugged and sore, Through tangled juniper, beds of reeds, Through many a fen where the serpent feeds, And man never trod before. And when on the earth he sunk to sleep, If slumber his eyelids knew, He lay where the deadly vine doth weep Its venomous tear, and nightly steep The flesh with blistering dew. And near him the she-wolf stirred the brake, And the copper snake breathed in his ear, Till he starting cried, from his dream awake, "Oh, when shall I see the dusky lake, And the white canoe of my dear?" He saw the lake, and a meteor bright Quick o'er its surface played. "Welcome," he said, "my dear one's light," And the dim shore echoed for many a night The name of the death-cold maid. Till he hollowed a boat of the birchen bark, Which carried him off from shore. Far, far he followed the meteor spark, The wind was high and the clouds were dark, And the boat returned no more. But oft from the Indian hunter's camp, This lover and maid so true Are seen, at the hour of midnight damp, To cross the lake by a firefly lamp, And paddle their white canoe. The Steersman's Song, written aboard the Boston frigate. When freshly blows the northern gale, And under courses snug we fly, Or when light breezes swell the sail, And royals proudly sweep the sky, 'Longside the wheel, unwearied still, I stand, and, as my watchful eye Doth mark the needle's faithful thrill, I think of her I love, and cry, "Port, my boy, port." When calms delay, or breezes blow Right from the point we wish to steer, When by the wind close hauled we go, And strive in vain the port to near, I think 'tis thus the Fates deter My bliss with one that's far away, And while remembrance springs to her, I watch the sails, and sighing say, "Thus, my boy, thus." But see, the wind draws kindly aft, All hands are up the yards to square, And now the floating stunsails waft Our stately ship through waves and air. Oh, then I think that yet for me Some breeze of fortune thus may spring, Some breeze to waft me, love, to thee, And in that hope I smiling sing, "Steady, boy, so." Lines written at the Cohos, or Falls of the Mohawk River. Gia era in loco, ove sudia l'rimbombo della acqua. Dante. From rise of morn till set of sun, I've seen the mighty Mohawk run, And as I marked the woods of pine Along his mirror darkly shine, Like tall and gloomy forms that pass Before the wizard's midnight glass. And as I viewed the hurrying pace With which he ran his turbid race, Rushing alike untired and wild Through shades that frowned and flowers that smiled, Flying by every green recess That wooed him to its calm caress, Yet sometimes turning with the wind, As if to leave one look behind, Oft have I thought, and thinking sighed, How like to thee, thou restless tide, May be the lot, the life of him Who roams along thy waters' brim. Through what alternate waste of woe And flowers of joy my path may go, How many a sheltered, calm retreat May woo the while my weary feet, While still pursuing, still unblest, I wander on, nor dare to rest. But, urgent as the doom that calls Thy water to its destined falls, I feel the world's bewildering force Hurry my heart's devoted course, From lapse to lapse, till life be done, And the spent current cease to run. Only one prayer I dare to make, as onward thus my course I take. Oh, be my falls as bright as thine, may heaven's relenting rainbow shine upon the mist that circles me, as soft as now it hangs o'er thee. End of poem. A Canadian Boat Song. Faintly as tolls the evening chime, our voices keep tune and our oars keep time. Soon as the woods on shore look dim, we'll sing at St. Anne's our parting hymn. Row, brothers, row, the stream runs fast, the rapids are near, and the daylight's past. Why should we yet our sail unfurl? There is not a breath the blue wave to curl. But when the wind blows off the shore, oh, sweetly we'll rest our weary oar. Blow, breezes, blow, the stream runs fast, the rapids are near, and the daylight's past. Utawa's tide, this trembling moon, shall see us float o'er thy surges soon. Saint of this green isle, hear our prayers, oh, grant us cool heavens and favouring airs. Blow, breezes, blow, the stream runs fast, the rapids are near, and the daylight's past. End of poem. Indian Chant. From the land beyond the sea, whither happy spirits flee, where, transformed to sacred doves, many a blessed Indian roves. Through the air on wings as white as those wondrous stones of light, which the eye of morning counts on the Appalachian mounts. Hither oft my flight I take, over Huron's lucid lake, where the wave, as clear as dew, sleeps beneath the light canoe, which, reflected, floating there, looks as if it hung in air. Then, when I have strayed awhile through the Manitoulin Isle, breathing all its holy bloom, swift I mount me on the plume of my Wacom bird, and fly, where, beneath a burning sky, o'er the bed of Erie's lake, slumbers many a water snake, wrapped within the web of leaves which the water lily weaves. Next I chase the floweret king through his rosy realm of spring, see him now, while diamond hues soft his neck and wings suffuse, in the leafy chalice sink, thirsting for his balmy drink. Now behold him all on fire, lovely in his looks of ire, breaking every infant stem, scattering every velvet gem, where his little tyrant lip hath not found enough to sip. Then my playful hand I steep, where the golden thread loves to creep, cull from thence a tangled wreath, words of magic round it breathe, and the sunny chaplet spread o'er the sleeping fly-bird's head, till with dreams of honey blest, haunted in his downy nest, by the garden's fairest spells, dewy buds and fragrant bells, fancy all his soul embowers in the fly-bird's heaven of flowers. Oft, when hoar and silvery flakes melt along the ruffled lakes, when the grey moose sheds his horns, when the track at evening warns weary hunters of the way to the wigwam's cheering ray, then aloft through freezing air, with the snow-bird soft and fair as the fleece that heaven flings o'er his little pearly wings, light above the rocks I play, where Niagara's starry spray, frozen on the cliff, appears like a giant's starting tears. There, amid the island sedge, just upon the cataract's edge, where the foot of living man never trod since time began, lone I sit at close of day, while, beneath the golden ray, icy columns gleam below, feathered round with falling snow, and an arch of glory springs, sparkling as the chain of rings round the neck of virgins hung, Virgins who have wandered young o'er the waters of the West, to the land where spirits rest. End of poem. The Indian Boat. 'Twas midnight dark, the seaman's bark Swift o'er the waters bore him, when through the night he spied a light shoot o'er the wave before him. "A sail, a sail!" he cries, "she comes from the Indian shore, And to-night shall be our prize, with her freight of golden ore. Sail on, sail on!" When morning shone, he saw the gold still clearer, But, though so fast the waves he passed, that boat seemed never the nearer. Bright daylight came, and still the same Rich bark before him floated, while on the prize His wishful eyes, like any young lover's, doted. More sail!" he cries, while the waves o'ertop the mast, And his bounding galley flies, like an arrow before the blast. Thus on and on, till day was gone, and the moon through heavens did hie her. He swept the main, but all in vain, that boat seemed never the nigher. And many a day to night gave way, and many a morn succeeded, While still his flight, through day and night, that restless mariner speeded. Who knows what seas he is now careening o'er, Behind the eternal breeze, and that mocking bark before? For oh, till sky and earth shall die, and their death leave none to rue it, That boat must flee o'er the boundless sea, and that ship in vain pursue it. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain. Section 11. From Lalla Rookh, Part 1. The Veiled Prophet of Khorasan, by Thomas Moore. Read for LibriVox.org by Noel Badrian. The Harem. Between the porphyry pillars that uphold The rich Moresque work of the roof of gold, Aloft the harem's curtained galleries rise, Where through the silken network glancing eyes, From time to time, like sudden gleams that glow Through autumn clouds, shine o'er the pomp below. What impious tongue, ye blushing saint, would dare To hint that aught but Heaven hath placed you there? Or that the loves of this light world could bind In their gross chain your prophet's soaring mind? No, wrongful thought! Commissioned from above To people Eden's bowers with shapes of love, Creatures so bright that the same lips and eyes They wear on earth will serve in Paradise, There to recline among Heaven's native maids, And crown the elect with bliss that never fades. Well hath the Prophet Chief his bidding done, And every beauteous race beneath the sun, From those who kneel at Brahma's burning founts, To the fresh nymphs bounding over Yemen's mounts, From Persia's eyes of full and fawn-like ray, To the small half-shut glances of Cathay, And Georgia's bloom, and Azab's darker smiles, And the gold ringlets of the Western Isles. All are there. Each land its flower hath given, To form that fair young nursery for Heaven. End of poem. The Toilette. Now through the harem chambers moving lights And busy shapes proclaim the toilette's rites. From room to room the ready handmaids hie, Some skilled to wreathe the turban tastefully, Or hang the veil in negligence of shade O'er the warm blushes of the youthful maid, Who, if between the folds but one eye shone, Like Seba's queen could vanish with that one. While some bring leaves of henna to imbue the fingers' ends with a bright roseate hue, so bright that in the mirror's depth they seem like tips of coral branches in the stream, and others mix the kohl's jetty dye to give that long, dark languish to the eye, which make the maids whom kings are proud to cull from fair Circassia's vales so beautiful. All is in motion, rings and plumes and pearls are shining everywhere. Some younger girls are gone by moonlight to the garden beds to gather fresh, cool chaplets for their heads. Gay creatures, sweet, though mournful 'tis to see how each prefers a garland from that tree which brings to mind her childhood's innocent day and the dear fields and friendships far away. The maid of India, blessed again to hold in her lap the champax leaves of gold, thinks of the time when, by the Ganges' flood, her little playmate scattered many a bud upon her long black hair, with glossy gleam just dripping from the consecrated stream, while the young Arab, haunted by the smell of her own mountain flowers as by a spell, the sweet Elkaya, and that courteous tree which bows to all who seek its canopy, sees, called up round her by these magic scents, the well, the camels, and her father's tents, sighs for the home she left with little pain, and wishes even its sorrows back again. End of poem. Azim's Temptation. Meanwhile, through vast illuminated halls, silent and bright, where nothing but the falls of fragrant waters, gushing with cool sound from many a jasper fount, is heard around, young Azim roams bewildered, nor can guess what means this maze of light and loneliness. Here the way leads o'er tessellated floors, or mats of Cairo, through long corridors, where, ranged in cassolets and silver urns, sweet wood of aloe or of sandal burns, and spicy rods, such as illume at night the bowers of Tibet, send forth odorous light, like Peri's wands, when pointing out the road for some pure spirit to its blessed abode. And here, at once, the glittering saloon bursts on his sight, boundless and bright as noon, where in the midst, reflecting back the rays in a broken rainbow, a fresh fountain plays, high as the enamelled cupola, which towers all rich with arabesques of gold and flowers, and the mosaic floor beneath shines through the sprinkling of that fountain's silvery dew, like the wet and glistening shells of every dye that on the margin of the Red Sea lie. Here too he traces the kind visitings of woman's love in those fair, living things of land and wave, whose fate, in bondage thrown, for their weak loveliness, is like her own. On one side, gleaming with a sudden grace, through water, brilliant as the crystal vase in which it undulates, small fishes shine, like golden ingots from a fairy mine, while, on the other, latticed lightly in with odoriferous wood of Comorin, each brilliant bird that wings the air is seen, gay sparkling luries, such as gleam between the crimson blossoms of the coral tree in the warm isles of India's sunny sea, Mecca's blue sacred pigeon, and the thrush of Hindostan, whose holy warblings gush at evening from the tall pagoda's top. Those golden birds that, in the spice time, drop about the garden's trunk with that sweet food whose scent hath lured them o'er the summer flood. And those that under Araby's soft sun build their high nests of budding cinnamon. In short, all rare and beauteous things that fly through the pure element, here calmly lie, sleeping in light, like the green birds that dwell in Eden's radiant fields of asphodel. So on, through scenes past all imagining, more like the luxuries of that impious king, whom Death's dark angel, with his lightning torch, struck down and blasted even in Pleasure's porch, than the pure dwelling of a prophet sent, armed with heaven's sword, for man's enfranchisement. Young Azim wondered, looking sternly round, his simple garb and war boots' clanking sound, but ill according with the pomp and grace and silent lull of that voluptuous place. End of poem. Bendemeer's Stream. There's a bower of roses by Bendemeer's stream, and the nightingale sings round it all the day long. In the time of my childhood 'twas like a sweet dream to sit in the roses and hear the bird's song. The bower and its music I never forget, but oft, when alone in the bloom of the year, I think, is the nightingale singing there yet? Are the roses still bright by the calm Bendemeer? No, the roses soon withered that hung o'er the wave, but some blossoms were gathered while freshly they shone, and a dew was distilled from their flowers that gave all the fragrance of summer when summer was gone. Thus memory draws from delight ere it dies an essence that breathes of its many a year. Thus bright to my soul, as 'twas then to my eyes, is that bower on the banks of the calm Bendemeer. End of poem. Song. A spirit there is, whose fragrant sigh is burning now through earth and air. Where cheeks are blushing, the spirit is nigh, where lips are meeting, the spirit is there. His breath is the soul of flowers like these, and his floating eyes, oh, they resemble blue water lilies when the breeze is making the stream around them tremble. Hail to thee, kindling power, spirit of love, spirit of bliss. Thy holiest time is the moonlight hour, and there never was moonlight so sweet as this. By the fair and brave, who blushing unite, like the sun and wave when they meet at night. By the tear that shows when passion is nigh, as the raindrop flows from the heat of the sky. By the first love beat of the youthful heart, by the bliss to meet and the pain to part. By all that thou hast to mortals given, which, oh, could it last, this earth were heaven. We call thee hither, entrancing power, spirit of love, spirit of bliss. Thy holiest time is the moonlight hour, and there never was moonlight so sweet as this. End of poem. Zelika's Farewell. "Oh, curse me not," she cried, as wild he tossed his desperate hand towards heaven, "though I am lost. Think not that guilt, that falsehood made me fall. No, no, 'twas grief, 'twas madness did it all. Nay, doubt me not, though all thy love hath ceased. I know it hath, yet believe, at least, that every spark of reason's light must be quenched in this brain ere I could stray from thee. They told me thou wert dead. Why, Azim, why did we not, both of us, that instant die when we were parted? Oh, couldst thou but know with what a deep devotedness of woe I wept thy absence, o'er and o'er again, thinking of thee, still thee, till thought grew pain, and memory, like a drop that, night and day, falls cold and ceaseless, wore my heart away. Didst thou but know how pale I sat at home, my eyes still turned the way thou wert to come, And, all the long, long night of hope and fear, Thy voice and step still sounding in my ear. O God, Thou wouldst not wonder that, at last, when every hope was all at once o'ercast, when I heard frightful voices round me say, Azim is dead, this wretched brain gave way, and I became a wreck, at random driven, without one glimpse of reason or of heaven, all wild, and even this quenchless love within turned to foul fires to light me into sin. Thou pitiest me, I knew Thou wouldst. That sky hath naught beneath it half so lorn as I. The fiend who lured me hither hissed, Come near, or thou too, thou art lost. If he should hear, told me such things, oh, with such devilish art, as would have ruined even a holier heart. Of thee, and of that ever-radiant sphere, where blest at length, if I but served him here, I should for ever live in thy dear sight, and drink from those pure eyes eternal light. Think how lost, how maddened I must be, to hope that guilt could lead to God or thee. Thou weepest for me, do weep, oh, that I durst kiss off that tear, but no, these lips are cursed, they must not touch thee. One divine caress, one blessed moment of forgetfulness, I've had within those arms, and that shall lie shrined in my soul's deep memory till I die. The last of joy's last relics here below, the one sweet drop in all this waste of woe, my heart has treasured from affection's spring, to soothe and cool its deadly withering. But thou, yes, thou must go, for ever go. This place is not for thee, oh no. Did I but tell thee half, thy tortured brain would burn like mine, and mine go wild again. Enough that guilt reigns here, that hearts once good, now tainted, chilled, and broken, are his food. Enough that we are parted, that there rolls a flood of headlong fate between our souls, whose darkness severs me as wide from thee as hell from heaven to all eternity. End of poem. The Caliph's Host. Ne'er did the march of Mahdi display such pomp before, not even when on his way to Mecca's temple, when both land and sea were spoiled to feed the pilgrim's luxury. When round him, 'mid the burning sands, he saw Fruits of the north in icy freshness thaw, and cooled his thirsty lip beneath the glow of Mecca's sun with urns of Persian snow. Nor e'er did armament more grand than that pour from the kingdom of the Caliphate. First in the van, the people of the rock, on their light mountain steeds of royal stock. Then chieftains of Damascus, proud to see the flashing of their swords' rich marquetry. Men from the regions near the Volga's mouth, mixed with the rude black archers of the south, and Indian lancers in white turbaned ranks from the far Sind or Attok's sacred banks, with dusky legions from the land of Mur, and many a mace-armed Moor and mid-sea islander. Nor less in number, though more new and rude in warfare's school, was the vast multitude that, fired by zeal or by oppression wronged, round the white standard of the impostor thronged. Beside his thousands of believers, blind, burning and headlong as the Samiel wind, many who felt, and more who feared to feel, the bloody Islamite's converting steel, flocked to his banner, chiefs of the Uzbek race, waving their heron crests with martial grace. Turkomans, countless as their flocks, led forth from the aromatic pastures of the north. Wild warriors of the turquoise hills, and those who dwell beyond the everlasting snows of Hindu Kosh, in stormy freedom bred, their fort the rock, their camp the torrent's bed. But none of all who owned the chieftain's command rushed to the battlefield with bolder hand or sterner hate than Iran's outlawed man. Her worshippers of fire, all panting then for vengeance on the accursed Saracen. Vengeance at last for their dear country spurned, her throne usurped, and her bright shrines o'erturned. From Yezid's eternal mansion of the fire, where aged saints in dreams of heaven expire, from Badku and those fountains of blue flame that burn into the Caspian, fierce they came, careless for what or whom the blow was sped. So vengeance triumphed, and their tyrants bled. End of poem. The battle. Twice hath the sun upon their conflict set, and risen again, and found them grappling yet. While streams of carnage in his noontide blaze Smoke up to heaven, hot as that crimson haze By which the prostrate caravan is awed In the red desert, when the wind's abroad. On swords of God the panting Caliph calls, Thrones for the living, heaven for him who falls. On, brave avengers, on, Mokanna cries, And Eblis blast the recreant slave that flies. Now comes the brunt, the crisis of the day. They clash, they strive, the Caliph's troops give way. Mokanna's self plucks the black banner down, And now the Orient world's imperial crown Is just within his grasp. When, hark, that shout! Some hand hath checked the flying Moslem's rout, And now they turn, they rally, at their head A warrior, like those angel youths who led, In glorious panoply of heaven's own mail, The champions of the faith through Bedar's vale. Bold as if gifted with 10,000 lives, Turns on the fierce pursuer's blades, And drives at once the multitudinous torrent back, While hope and courage kindle in his track, And at each step his bloody falchion makes Terrible vistas through which victory breaks. In vain Mokanna, midst the general flight, Stands like the red moon on some stormy night, Among the fugitive clouds that hurrying by Leave only her unshaken in the sky. In vain he yells his desperate curses out, Deals death promiscuously to all about, To foes that charge and coward friends that fly, And seems of all the great arch-enemy. The panic spreads, a miracle! Throughout the Moslem ranks, a miracle, they shout, All gazing on that youth, whose coming seems A light, a glory, such as breaks in dreams. And every sword, true as o'er billows dim, The needle tracks the lodestar, following him. Right towards Mokanna now he cleaves his path, Impatient cleaves, as though the bolt of wrath He bears from heaven withheld its awful burst From weaker heads, and souls but half-way cursed, To break o'er him the mightiest and the worst. But vain his speed, though, in that hour of blood, Had all God's seraphs round Mokanna stood, With swords of fire ready like fate to fall, Mokanna's soul would have defied them all. Yet now the rush of fugitives, too strong For human force, hurries even him along. In vain he struggles 'mid the wedged array Of flying thousands. he is borne away. And the sole joy his baffled spirit knows In this forced flight is, murdering as he goes. As a grim tiger, whom the torrent's might Surprises in some parched ravine at night, Turns, ev'n in drowning, on the wretched flocks Swept with him in that snow flood from the rocks, And, to the last, devouring on his way, Bloodies the stream he hath not power to stay. End of poem. Mokanna's Feast. 'Twas more than midnight now. A fearful pause Had followed the long shouts, the wild applause, That lately from the royal gardens burst, Where the veiled demon held his feast accurst, When Zelika, alas, poor ruined heart, In every horror doomed to bear its part, Was bidden to the banquet by a slave, Who, while his quivering lip the summons gave, Grew black, as though the shadows of the grave Compassed him round, and ere he could repeat His message through, fell lifeless at her feet. Shuddering she went, a soul-felt pang of fear, A presage that her own dark doom was near, Roused every feeling, and brought reason back Once more to writhe her last upon the rack. All round seemed tranquil, even the foe had ceased, As if aware of the demoniac feast, His fiery bolts, and though the heavens looked red, 'Twas but some distant conflagrations spread. But hark, she stops, she listens, dreadful tone, 'Tis her tormentor's laugh, and now a groan, A long death groan comes with it. Can this be the place of mirth, the bower of revelry? She enters. Holy Allah, what a sight Was there before her! By the glimmering light Of the pale dawn, mixed with the flare of brands That round lay burning, dropped from lifeless hands, She saw the board, in splendid mockery spread, Rich censers breathing, garlands overhead, The urns, the cups, from which they late had quaffed, All gold and gems. But what had been the draught? Oh, who needs ask, that saw those livid guests, With their swollen heads sunk blackening on their breasts, Or looking pale to heaven with glassy stare, As if they sought, but saw no mercy there, As if they felt, though poison racked them through, Remorse, the deadlier torment of the two. While some, the bravest, hardiest in the train Of their false chief, who on the battle plain Would have met death with transport by his side, Here mute and helpless gasped, but, as they died, Looked horrible vengeance with their eyes' last strain, And clenched the slackening hand at him in vain. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain. Section 12. From Lalla Rookh, Part 2. Paradise and the Peri, by Thomas Moore. Read for LibriVox.org by Noel Badrian. The Peri's Soliloquy. One morn a Peri at the gate Of Eden stood, disconsolate, And as she listened to the springs of life within, Like music flowing, and caught the light upon her wings Through the half-open portal glowing, She wept to think her recreant race Should e'er have lost that glorious place. How happy, exclaimed this child of air, Are the holy spirits who wander there, 'Mid flowers that never shall fade or fall, Though mine are the gardens of earth and sea, And the stars themselves have flowers for me, One blossom of heaven outblooms them all. Though sunny the lake of cool Cashmere, With its plane tree isle reflected clear, and sweetly the founts of that valley fall, though bright are the waters of Sing Suhay, and the golden floods that whitherward stray. Yet oh, 'tis only the blest can say how the waters of heaven outshine them all. Go, wing thy flight from star to star, from world to luminous world, as far as the universe spreads its flaming wall. Take all the pleasures of all the spheres, and multiply each through endless years. 1 minute of heaven is worth them all. End of poem. Mahmud of Ghazni. While thus she mused, her pinions fanned The air of that sweet Indian land, Whose air is balm, whose oceans spread O'er the coral rocks and amber beds, Whose mountains, pregnant by the beam Of the warm sun, with diamonds teem, Whose rivulets are like rich brides, Lovely with gold beneath their tides, Whose sandal groves and bowers of spice Might be a Peri's paradise. But crimson now her rivers ran With human blood; the smell of death Came reeking from those spicy bowers, And man, the sacrifice of man, Mingled his taint with every breath Upwafted from the innocent flowers. Land of the sun, what foot invades Thy pagodas and thy pillared shades, Thy caverned shrines and idol stones, Thy monarchs and their 1,000 thrones? 'Tis he of Ghazni, fierce in wrath, He comes, and India's diadems Lie scattered in his ruinous path. His bloodhounds he adorns with gems, Torn from the violated necks Of many a young and loved sultana, Maidens within their pure zenana, Priests in their very fane he slaughters, And chokes up with the glittering wrecks Of golden shrines the sacred waters. End of poem. The hour of death. Poor race of men, said the pitying spirit, Dearly ye pay for your primal fall. Some flowerets of Eden ye still inherit, But the trail of the serpent is over them all. She wept. The air grew pure and clear Around her, as the bright drops ran. For there's a magic in each tear, Such kindly spirits weep for man. Just then, beneath some orange trees, Whose fruits and blossoms in the breeze Were wantoning together free, Like age at play with infancy, Beneath that fresh and springing bower, Close by the lake, she heard the moan Of one who, at this silent hour, Had thither stolen to die alone. One who in life, where'er he moved, Drew after him the hearts of many, Yet now, as though he ne'er were loved, Dies here unseen, unwept by any. None to watch near him, none to slake That fire that in his bosom lies, With ev'n a sprinkle from that lake Which shines so cool before his eyes. No voice, well known through many a day, To speak the last, the parting word, Which, when all other sounds decay, Is still like distant music heard. That tender farewell on the shore Of this rude world, when all is o'er, Which cheers the spirit, ere its bark Puts off into the unknown dark. End of poem. A Syrian Night. Now upon Syria's land of roses Softly the light of eve reposes, And, like a glory, the broad sun Hangs o'er sainted Lebanon, Whose head in wintry grandeur towers, And whitens with eternal sleet, While summer, in a veil of flowers, Is sleeping rosy at his feet. To one who looked from upper air O'er all the enchanted regions there, How beauteous must have been the glow, The life, the sparkling from below! Fair gardens, shining streams, with ranks Of golden melons on their banks, more golden where the sunlight falls, gay lizards glittering on the walls of ruined shrines, busy and bright, as they were all alive with light, and, yet more splendid, numerous flocks of pigeons settling on the rocks, with their rich restless wings that gleam variously in the crimson beams of the warm west, as if inlaid with brilliance from the mine, or made of tearless rainbows such as spanned the unclouded skies of Peristan. And then the mingling sounds that come of shepherd's ancient reed, with hum of the wild bees of Palestine, banqueting through the flowery vales, and Jordan, those sweet banks of thine, and woods so full of nightingales. End of poem. The Love Song of Pheromoz. Tell me not of joys above, if that world can give no bliss, truer, happier than the love which enslaves our souls in this. Tell me not of Houri's eyes, far from me their dangerous glow, if those looks that light the skies wound like some that burn below. Who that feel what love is here, all its falsehood, all its pain, would, for even Elysium's sphere, risk the fatal dream again? Who, that midst a desert's heat sees the waters fade away, would not rather die than meet streams again as false as they? End of poem. This recording is in the public domain. Section 13. From Lalla Rookh, Part 3. The Fire Worshippers, by Thomas Moore. Read for LibriVox.org by Noel Badrian. Moonlight. 'Tis moonlight over Oman's sea, her banks of pearl and palmy isles bask in the night beam beauteously, and her blue waters sleep in smiles. 'Tis moonlight in Harmosia's walls, and through her Emir's porphyry halls, where, some hours since, was heard the swell of trumpet and the clash of zell, bidding the bright-eyed sun farewell. The peaceful sun, whom better suits the music of the bulbul's nest, or the light touch of lovers' lutes to sing him to his golden rest. All hushed, there's not a breeze in motion, the shore is silent as the ocean. If zephyrs come, so light they come, nor leaf is stirred, nor wave is driven. The wind tower on the Emir's dome can hardly win a breath from heaven. End of poem. Al-Hasan's Daughter. Beautiful are the maids that glide on summer eves through Yemen's dales, and bright the glancing looks they hide behind their litters' roseate veils. And brides as delicate and fair as the white jasmine flowers they wear, hath Yemen in her blissful clime, who, lulled in cool kiosk or bower, before their mirrors count the time, and grow still lovelier every hour. But never yet hath bride or maid in Araby's gay harem smiled, whose boasted brightness would not fade before Al-Hasan's blooming child. Light as the angel shapes that bless an infant's dream, yet not the less rich in all woman's loveliness, with eyes so pure that from their ray dark vice would turn abashed away, blinded like serpents when they gaze upon the emerald virgin's blaze, yet filled with all youth's sweet desires, mingling the meek and vestal fires of other worlds with all the bliss, the fond, weak tenderness of this. A soul, too, more than half divine, where, through some shades of earthly feeling, Religion's softened glories shine, Like light through summer foliage stealing, Shedding a glow of such mild hue, So warm, and yet so shadowy too, As makes the very darkness there More beautiful than light elsewhere. The Heber's Avowal. "Hold, hold, thy words are death!" the stranger cried, As wild he flung his mantle back, and showed beneath The Gheber's belt that round him clung. "Here, maiden, look, weep, blush to see All that thy sire abhors in me. Yes, I am of that impious race, Those slaves of fire, who, morn and even, Hail their Creator's dwelling place Among the living lights of heaven. Yes, I am of the outcast few, To Iran and to vengeance true, Who curse the hour your Arabs came To desolate our shrines of flame, And swear before God's burning eye To break our country's chains or die. Thy bigot, sire, nay, tremble not. He who gave birth to those dear eyes, With me is sacred as the spot From which our fires of worship rise. But no, 'twas he I sought that night, When, from my watchboat on the sea, I caught this turret's glimmering light, And up the rude rocks desperately Rushed to my prey — thou know'st the rest. I climbed the gory vulture's nest, And found a trembling dove within. Thine, thine the victory, thine the sin. If Love hath made one thought his own, That vengeance claims first, last, alone. Oh, had we never, never met, Or could this heart ev'n now forget, How linked, how blest we might have been, Had fate not frowned so dark between. Hadst thou been born a Persian maid, In neighbouring valleys had we dwelt, Through the same fields in childhood played, At the same kindling altar knelt, Then, while all those nameless ties, In which the charm of country lies, Had round our hearts been hourly spun, Till Iran's cause and thine were one. While in thy lute's awakening sigh I heard the voice of days gone by, And saw in every smile of thine Returning hours of glory shine, While the wronged spirit of our land Lived, looked, and spoke her wrongs through thee. God, who could then this sword withstand? Its very flash were victory. But now, estranged, divorced for ever, Far as the grasp of fate can sever, Our only ties what love has wove, In faith, friends, country, sundered wide, And then only, true to love, When false to all that's dear beside. Thy father, Iran's deadliest foe, Thyself, perhaps, even now, but no, Hate never looked so lovely yet. No, sacred to thy soul will be The land of him who could forget All but the bleeding land for thee. When other eyes shall see, unmoved, Her widows mourn, her warriors fall, Thou'lt think how well one Gheber loved, And for his sake thou'lt weep for all. Mourn in the East. The morn hath risen clear and calm, And o'er the green sea palely shines, Revealing Bahrain's groves of palm, And lighting Kishma's amber vines. Fresh smell the shores of Araby, While breezes from the Indian sea Blow round Selama's sainted cape, And curl the shining flood beneath, Whose waves are rich with many a grape, And cocoa nut, and flowery wreath, Which pious seamen as they passed Had towards that holy headland cast. Oblations to the Genii there, For gentle skies and breezes fair. The nightingale now bends her flight From the high trees, where all the night She sung so sweet, with none to listen, And hides her from the morning star, Where thickets of pomegranate glisten In the clear dawn, bespangled o'er with dew, Whose night drops would not stain The best and brightest scimitar That ever youthful Sultan wore On the first morning of his reign. A Persian Patriot. Such were the tales that won belief, And such the colouring fancy gave To a young, warm, and dauntless chief, One who, no more than mortal brave, Fought for the land his soul adored, For happy homes and altars free, His only talisman the sword, His only spell word liberty. One of that ancient hero line, Along whose glorious currents shine Names that have sanctified their blood, As Lebanon's small mountain flood Is rendered holy by the ranks Of sainted cedars on its banks. 'Twas not for him to crouch the knee Tamely to Moslem's tyranny. 'Twas not for him whose soul was cast In the bright mould of ages past, Whose melancholy spirit, fed With all the glories of the dead, Though framed for Iran's happiest years, Was born among her chains and tears. 'Twas not for him to swell the crowd Of slavish heads, that shrinking bowed Before the Moslem as he passed, Like shrubs beneath the poison blast. No, far he fled, indignant fled The pageant of his country's shame, While every tear her children shed Fell on his soul like drops of flame. And, as a lover hails the dawn Of a first smile, so welcomed he The sparkle of the first sword drawn For vengeance and for liberty. The Gabor's Stronghold. There stood, but one short league away From old Harmosia's sultry bay, A rocky mountain, o'er the sea Of Oman beetling awfully, A last and solitary link Of those stupendous chains that reach From the broad Caspian's reedy brink Down winding to the green sea beach. Around its base the bare rocks stood, Like naked giants in the flood, As if to guard the gulf across, While on its peak, that braved the sky, A ruined temple towered, so high That oft the sleeping albatross Struck the wild ruins with her wing, And from her cloud-rocked slumbering started, To find man's dwellings there, In her own silent fields of air. Beneath, terrific caverns gave Dark welcome to each stormy wave That dashed, like midnight revellers, in. And such the strange mysterious din At times throughout those caverns rolled, And such the fearful wonders told Of restless sprites imprisoned there, That bold were Moslem who would dare At twilight hour to steer his skiff Beneath the Gabor's lonely cliff. On the land side those towers sublime, That seemed above the grasp of time, Were severed from the haunts of men By a wide, deep, and wizard glen, So fathomless, so full of gloom, No eye could pierce the void between. It seemed a place where Gauls might come With their foul banquets from the tomb, And in its caverns feed unseen. Like distant thunder, from below The sound of many torrents came, Too deep for eye or ear to know If 'twere the sea's imprisoned flow, Or floods of ever restless flame. For each ravine, each rocky spire Of that vast mountain stood on fire. And, though for ever past the day When God was worshipped in the blaze That from its lofty altar shone, Though fled the priests, the votaries gone, Still did the mighty flame burn on, Through chance and change, through good and ill, Like its own God's eternal will, Deep, constant, bright, unquenchable. End of poem. The Traitor's Curse. Oh, for a tongue to curse the slave, whose treason, like a deadly blight, Comes o'er the counsels of the brave, and blasts them in their hour of might. May life's unblessed cup for him be drugged with treacheries to the brim, With hopes that but allure to fly, with joys that vanish while he sips, Like Dead Sea fruits that tempt the eye, but turn to ashes on the lips. His country's curse, his children's shame, Outcast of virtue, peace, and fame, May he, at last, with lips of flame, On the parched desert thirsting die, While lakes that shone in mockery nigh Are fading off, untouched, untasted, Like the once glorious hopes he blasted. And when from earth his spirit flies, Just prophet, let the damned one dwell Full in the sight of Paradise, Beholding heaven, and feeling hell. End of poem. Calm after storm. How calm, how beautiful comes on The stilly hour, when storms are gone, When warring winds have died away, And clouds beneath the glancing ray Melt off, and leave the land and sea Sleeping in bright tranquillity, Fresh as if day again were born, Again upon the lap of morn. When the light blossoms, rudely torn And scattered at the whirlwind's will, Hang floating in the pure air still, Filling it all with precious balm, In gratitude for this sweet calm. And every drop the thunder showers Have left upon the grass and flowers Sparkles, as 'twere that lightning gem Whose liquid flame is born of them. When, 'stead of one unchanging breeze, There blow 1,000 gentle airs, And each a different perfume bears, As if the loveliest plants and trees Had vassal breezes of their own, To watch and wait on them alone, And waft no other breath than theirs. When the blue waters rise and fall In sleepy sunshine, mantling all, And ev'n that swell the tempest leaves Is like the full and silent heaves Of lovers' hearts, when newly blest, Too newly to be quite at rest. Such was the golden hour that broke Upon the world, when Hinder woke From her long trance, and heard around No motion but the water's sound, Rippling against the vessel's side, As slow it mounted o'er the tide. But where is she? Her eyes are dark, Are wildered still. Is this the bark, The same that from Harmosia's bay Bore her at morn, whose bloody way The sea dog tracked? No, strange and new Is all that meets her wondering view. Upon a gallio's deck she lies, Beneath no rich pavilion's shade, No plumes to fan her sleeping eyes, Nor jasmine on her pillow laid. But the rude litter, roughly spread With war cloaks, is her homely bed, And shawl and sash on javelins hung, For awning o'er her head are flung. Shuddering she looked around. There lay a group of warriors in the sun, Resting their limbs, as for that day Their ministry of death were done. Some gazing on the drowsy sea, Lost in unconscious reverie, And some, who seemed but ill to brook That sluggish calm, with many a look To the slack sail impatient cast, As loose it flagged around the mast. End of poem. An Eastern Eventide. To tearless eyes and hearts at ease, The leafy shores and sun-bright seas That lay beneath that mountain's height Had been a fair enchanting sight. 'Twas one of those ambrosial eves A day of storm so often leaves At its calm setting, when the west Opens her golden bowers of rest, and a moist radiance from the skies shoots trembling down, as from the eyes of some meek penitent, whose last bright hours atone for dark ones past, and whose sweet tears, o'er wrong forgiven, shine as they fall with light from heaven. 'Twas stillness all. The winds that late had rushed through Kerman's almond groves, and shaken from her boughs of date that cooling feast the traveller loves, now, lulled to languor, scarcely curl the green sea wave, whose waters gleam limpid, as if her mines of pearl were melted all to form the stream. And her fair islets, small and bright, with their green shores reflected there, look like those Peri Isles of light, that hang by spell work in the air. End of poem. Araby's Daughter. Farewell, farewell to thee, Araby's daughter. Thus warbled a Peri beneath the dark sea. No pearl ever lay under Oman's green water, more pure in its shell than thy spirit in thee. O fair as the sea-flower close to thee growing, how light was thy heart till love's witchery came, like the wind of the south o'er a summer lute blowing, and hushed all its music and withered its frame. But long upon Araby's green sunny highlands shall maids and their lovers remember the doom of her who lies sleeping among the Pearl Islands, with nought but the sea-star to light up her tomb. And still, when the merry date season is burning, and calls to the palm groves the young and the old, the happiest there, from their pastime returning at sunset, will weep when thy story is told. The young village maid, when with flowers she dresses her dark flowing hair for some festival day, will think of thy fate till, neglecting her tresses, she mournfully turns from the mirror away. Nor shall Iran, beloved of her hero, forget thee, though tyrants watch over her tears as they start. Close, close by the side of that hero she'll set thee, embalmed in the innermost shrine of her heart. Farewell, be it ours to embellish thy pillow with everything beauteous that grows in the deep. Each flower of the rock and each gem of the billow shall sweeten thy bed and illumine thy sleep. Around thee shall glisten the loveliest amber that ever the sorrowing sea-bird has wept, with many a shell in whose hollow-wreathed chamber we Peris of ocean by moonlight have slept. We'll dive where the gardens of coral lie darkling, and plant all the rosiest stems at thy head. We'll seek where the sands of the Caspian are sparkling, and gather there gold to strew o'er thy bed. Farewell, farewell, until pity's sweet fountain is lost in the hearts of the fair and the brave. They'll weep for the chieftain who died on that mountain, they'll weep for the maiden who sleeps in this wave. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain. Section 14. From Lalla Rookh, Part 4, The Light of the Harem, by Thomas Moore. Read for LibriVox.org by Noel Badrian. The Vale of Kashmir. Who has not heard of the Vale of Kashmir, with its roses the brightest that earth ever gave? Its temples and grottos, and fountains as clear as the love-lighted eyes that hang over their wave. Oh, to see it at sunset, when warm o'er the lake its splendour at parting a summer eve throws, like a bride full of blushes when lingering to take a last look of her mirror at night ere she goes. when the shrines through the foliage are gleaming, half shown, and each hallows the hour by some rites of its own. Here the music of prayer from the minaret swells, here the Magian his urn full of perfume is swinging, and here, at the altar, a zone of sweet bells round the waist of some fair Indian dancer is ringing. Or to see it by moonlight, when mellowly shines the light o'er its palaces, gardens, and shrines, when the waterfall gleams like a quick fall of stars, and the nightingale's hymn from the Isle of Chenars is broken by laughs and light echoes of feet from the cool shining walks where the young people meet. Or at morn, when the magic of daylight awakes a new wonder each minute as slowly it breaks. Hills, cupolas, fountains, called forth every one out of darkness, as if but just born of the sun. When the spirit of fragrance is up with the day, from his harem of night flowers stealing away, and the wind, full of wantonness, woos like a lover the young aspen trees till they tremble all over. When the east is as warm as the light of first hopes, and day, with his banner of radiance unfurled, shines in through the mountainous portal that opes, sublime from that valley of bliss to the world. End of poem. Namouna, the Enchantress. Hence is it too that Nourmahal, amid the luxuries of this hour, far from the joyous festival, sits in her own sequestered bower, with no one near, to soothe or to aid, but that inspired and wondrous maid, Namouna, the Enchantress, one o'er whom his race the golden sun for unremembered years has run, yet never saw her blooming brow younger or fairer than 'tis now. Nay, rather, as the west wind's sigh freshens the flower it passes by, Time's wing but seemed, in stealing o'er, to leave her lovelier than before. Yet on her smiles a sadness hung, and when, as oft, she spoke or sung of other worlds, there came a light from her dark eyes so strangely bright, that all believed nor man nor earth were conscious of Namouna's birth. All spells and talismans she knew, from the great mantra, which around the air's sublimer spirits drew, to the gold gems of Afric, bound upon the wondering Arab's arm, to keep him from the Siltim's harm. And she had pledged her powerful art, pledged it with all the zeal and heart of one who knew, though high her sphere, what 'twas to lose a love so dear, to find some spell that should recall her Selim's smile to Nourmahal. End of poem. Namouna's Song. I know where the winged visions dwell, that around the night bed play. I know each herb and floweret's bell, where they hide their wings by day. Then hasten we, maid, to twine our braid. To-morrow the dreams and flowers will fade. The image of love, that nightly flies to visit the bashful maid, steals from the jasmine flower that sighs its soul like her in the shade, the dream of a future happier hour that alights on misery's brow, springs out of the silvery almond flower that blooms on a leafless bough. Then hasten we, maid, to twine our braid. To-morrow the dreams and flowers will fade. The visions that oft to worldly eyes the glitter of minds unfold, inhabit the mountain herb that dyes the tooth of the fawn like gold. The phantom shapes, oh touch not them, that appall the murderer's sight, lurk in the fleshy mandrake stem that shrieks when plucked at night. Then hasten we, maid, to twine our braid, to-morrow the dreams and flowers will fade. The dream of the injured, patient mind that smiles at the wrongs of men is found in the bruised and wounded rind of the cinnamon, sweetest then. Then hasten we, maid, to twine our braid, to-morrow the dreams and flowers will fade. End of poem. The Georgian Song. Come hither, by night and by day, we linger in pleasures that never are gone. Like the waves of the summer, as one dies away, another as sweet and as shining comes on. And the love that is o'er, in expiring, gives birth to a new one as warm, as unequalled in bliss. And, oh, if there be an Elysium on earth, it is this, it is this. Here maidens are sighing, and fragrant their sigh as the flower of the amra just opened by a bee, and precious their tears as the rain from the sky, which turns into pearls as it falls in the sea. Oh, think what the kiss and the smile must be worth, when the sigh and the tear are so perfect in bliss. And own if there be an Elysium on earth, it is this, it is this. Here sparkles the nectar, that hallowed by love, could draw down those angels of old from their sphere, who for wine of this earth left the fountains above, and forgot heaven's stars for the eyes we have here. And blessed with the odour our goblet gives forth, what spirit the sweets of his Eden would miss? For oh, if there be an Elysium on earth, it is this, it is this. The Georgian song was scarcely mute, when the same measure, sound for sound, was caught up by another lute, and so divinely breathed around, that all stood hushed and wondering, and turned and looked into the air, as if they thought to see the wing of Israfil, the angel, there. So powerfully on every soul that new enchanted measure stole, while now a voice, sweet as the note of the charmed lute, was heard to float along its chords, and so entwine its sounds with theirs, that none knew whether the voice or lute was most divine, so wondrously they went together. There's a bliss beyond all that the minstrel has told, when two that are linked in one heavenly tie, with heart never changing and brow never cold, love on through all ills and love on till they die. 1 hour of a passion so sacred is worth whole ages of heartless and wondering bliss. And oh, if there be an Elysium on earth, it is this, it is this. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain. Section 15, from The Loves of the Angels by Thomas Moore. Read for LibriVox.org by Noel Badrian. First Angel's Story. 'Twas in a land that far away Into the golden Orient lies, Where Nature knows not night's delay, But springs to meet her bridegroom, Day, upon the threshold of the skies. One morn, on earthly mission sent, And midway choosing where to light, I saw, from the blue element, oh, beautiful but fatal sight! One of earth's fairest womankind, half veiled from view, or rather shrined In the clear crystal of a brook, Which, while it hid no single gleam Of her young beauties, made them look More spirit-like, as they might seem Through the dim shadowing of a dream. Pausing in wonder, I looked on, while, playfully round her breaking The waters that like diamonds shone, She moved in light of her own making. At length, as from the airy height I gently lowered my breathless flight, The tremble of my wings all o'er, For through each plume I felt the thrill, Startled her, as she reached the shore Of that small lake, her mirror still, Above whose brink she stood, like snow When rosy with a sunset glow. Never shall I forget those eyes, The shame, the innocent surprise Of that bright face, when in the air, Uplooking, she beheld me there. It seemed as if each thought, and look, and motion Were that minute chained fast to the spot, Such root she took. And, like a sunflower by a brook, With face upturned, so still remained. In pity to the wondering maid, Though loth from such a vision turning, Downward I bent beneath the shade Of my spread wings, to hide the burning Of glances which, I well could feel, For me, for her, too warmly shone. But, ere I could again unseal My restless eyes, or even steal One sidelong look, the maid was gone, Hid from me in the forest leaves. Sudden, as when, in all her charms Of full-blown light, some cloud receives The moon into his dusky arms. 'Tis not in words to tell the power, The despotism that, from that hour, Passion held o'er me. Day and night I sought round each neighbouring spot, And, in the chase of this sweet light, My task, and heaven, and all forgot. All but the one soul-haunting dream Of her I saw in that bright stream. Nor was it long ere by her side I found myself, whole happy days, Listening to words whose music vied With our own Eden's seraph lays, When seraph lays are warmed by love, But wanting that, far, far above. And looking into eyes where, blue and beautiful, Like skies seen through the sleeping wave, For me there shone a heaven more worshipped than my own. Oh, what, while I could hear and see Such words and looks, was heaven to me? Though gross the air on earth I drew, 'Twas blessed while she breathed it too. Though dark the flowers, though dim the sky, Love lent them light while she was nigh. Throughout creation I but knew Two separate worlds, the one, that small, Beloved, and consecrated spot Where Leah was, the other, all The dull, wide waste, where she was not. End of poem. Love, Religion, and Music. 'Twas first at twilight, on the shore Of the smooth sea, he heard the lute And voice of her he loved steal o'er The silvery waters that lay mute, As loth, by even a breath to stay The pilgrimage of that sweet lay, Whose echo still went on and on, Till lost among the light that shone Far off, beyond the ocean's brim. There, where the rich cascade of day Had, o'er the horizon's golden rim, Into Elysium rolled away. Of God she sung, and of the mild Attendant Mercy, that beside His awful throne for ever smiled, Ready with her white hand to guide His bolts of vengeance to their prey, That she might quench them on the way. Of peace, of that atoning love, Upon whose star, shining above This twilight world of hope and fear, The weeping eyes of faith are fixed So fond, that with her every tear The light of that love-star is mixed. All this she sung, and such a soul of piety Was in that song, that the charmed angel, as it stole Tenderly to his ear along Those lulling waters where he lay, Watching the daylight's dying ray, thought 'twas a voice from out the wave, An echo that some sea nymph gave To Eden's distant harmony, Heard faint and sweet beneath the sea. Quickly, however, to its source Tracking that music's melting course, He saw upon the golden sand Of the sea shore a maiden stand, Before whose feet the expiring waves Flung their last offering with a sigh, As in the East exhausted slaves Lay down the far brought gift, and die. And while her lute hung by her, hushed, As if unequal to the tide Of song that from her lips still gushed, She raised like one beatified Those eyes whose light seemed rather given To be adored than to adore, Such eyes as may have looked from heaven, But ne'er were raised to it before. O love, religion, music, all that's left of Eden upon earth, The only blessing since the fall Of our weak souls, that still recall A trace of their high, glorious birth. How kindred are the dreams you bring! How love, though unto earth so prone, Delights to take religion's wing, When time or grief has stained his own! How near to love's beguiling brink Too oft entranced religion lies, While music is the link They both still hold to the skies, The language of their native sphere, Which they had else forgotten here. End of poem. Consolations. All this they bear, but, not the less, Have moments rich in happiness. Blest meetings, after many a day Of widowhood passed far away, When the loved face again is seen, Close, close, with not a tear between. Confidings frank, without control, Poured mutually from soul to soul, As free from any fear or doubt As is that light from chill or stain The sun into the stars sheds out, To be by them shed back again. That happy minglement of hearts, Where, changed as chymic compounds are, Each with its own existence parts, To find a new one, happier far. Such are their joys, and, crowning all, That blessed hope of the bright hour, When, happy and no more to fall, Their spirits shall, with freshened power, Rise up rewarded for their trust In Him, for whom all goodness springs, And, shaking off earth's soiling dust From their emancipated wings, Wander for ever through those skies Of radiance where love never dies. In what lone region of the earth These pilgrims now may roam or dwell, God and the angels who look forth To watch their steps alone can tell. But should we in our wanderings Meet a young pair, whose beauty wants But the adornment of bright wings To look like heaven's inhabitants, Who shine where'er they tread, And yet are humble in their earthly lot, As is the wayside violet That shines unseen, and were it not For its sweet breath, would be forgot; Whose hearts in every thought are one, Whose voices utter the same wills, Answering, as echo doth some tone Of fairy music 'mong the hills, So like itself we seek in vain Which is the echo, which the strain; Whose piety is love, whose love, Though close as 'twere their souls' embrace, Is not of earth, but from above. Like two fair mirrors face to face, Whose light, from one to the other thrown, Is heaven's reflection, not her own. Should we e'er meet with aught so pure, So perfect here, we may be sure 'Tis Zaraph and his bride we see, And call young lovers round, to view The pilgrim pair, as they pursue Their pathway towards eternity. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.